Yeah, good evening and welcome, all you happy Gators out there. It's going to be a happy night, except for our issues with our internet or with the problems we're having with our server. So we're working on it. We've gone to the maximum to get it done, and Brendan's been helping me. But tonight, bear with us one more night. We'll get there. We've ordered equipment. We've all kind of things. Anyway, I'm Buddy Martin. The show tonight is about a feel-good story. Last night's show was really remarkable. I got many calls from people saying how much they enjoyed it. Hopefully, I'm not jumping around too much on the internet. But man, oh man, what a week, what a night last night. People openly weeping on the show. The joy that they had, tearful joy, as someone called it. Mike Guinness said there were tears of joy, and they were. So tonight on the program, we've got Ben Troupe leading off. It's football this weekend. By the way, football. Remember that football? And then we've got Franz Beard, who's gimping around on one bad knee, tore his ACL in San Francisco, and Coach Loren Meadows. We hope will all be there. We hope you're there. Come join us and tell your friends and neighbors. We're going to be here for the next hour, glitches and all, doing what we do, talking about Gator sports and Gator basketball and Gator football, orange and blue game, and a big celebration. Stay tuned for all that. We come back, we've got Ben Troupe.
Yes, it's time again for Buddy Martin. Call him up and tell him what you're thinking. But be kind because he's doing the best he can.
Better, stronger, faster.
Mama says that alligators are ornery because they got all them teeth but no toothbrush.
Hey, what if the voice calls while you're gone?
Take a message.
Bye.
You ready, champ?
I'm ready for this my whole life.
I'm incapable of small talk. But that's why you love me, right?
Kind of intimidating to be in the presence of so many great athletes.
My pinches, this can't be true. There's been Troupe. We've had a marvelous few days. We've had remarkable emotion on this show. Last night, Chris Doering openly weeping as he was talking about how he got to Florida, what this meant to him. He's a football player. But you know what? In this Gator Nation right now, there's a lot of good feeling about everybody and everything. And they're really, those Gator boys are staying hot, and it's really touched a lot of people, including this guy, Ben Troupe. Evening to you, Ben.
Good evening, buddy. Yeah. I saw I didn't get a chance to hear Chris live on here, but I did see the picture of him and his son, and to share that moment with his son. I was blessed enough to have Chris on 84 Reasons. He was talking about how he ended up at Florida and how, he went to, Florida State. He just didn't get, he didn't get the vibe. And it's special, buddy. I think for Gator Nation, we have sometimes we are our own worst enemy, and the reason why we are like that is because we've seen it all, buddy. Most places can only talk about the best team they had or the best year they had or the best moment that they had. They said, dude, it's like if you Charles Barkley, you couldn't win a championship because you played during the era of Michael Jordan. If you Karl Malone, you've had some great moments. For us, buddy, Monday night meant a lot because, people kept saying when Billy Donovan left, you talk about filling shoes. When Billy Donovan left, it was like, what are we going to do? Who are we going to get? How are we going to maintain this level of, dominance and tradition and consistency and sustainability? And all of a sudden, you get this guy from San Francisco, and buddy, it wasn't Coach Golden's fault, but we had a lot of negativity around the basketball program at that point. We were just fed up. We were just full. And we talk about patience, but Ty Golden, from the time he got here, he ain't only been here 3 years, but you like, dude, you can see it turning. Then you start talking about who do you bring in? From the transfer portal. And you ain't getting, because people think you got to get a transfer from Villanova or Virginia or Duke or Kansas. And you're getting these guys from Iona and FAU overseas talent. And then, and like I say, every year around this time, buddy, whether it be basketball or football, somebody makes an announcement that they're coming back. 2 years ago for football, it was Ricky Pearsall. I know he's on campus right now getting ready for the Orange and Blue game. I know he's down there. This time last year, buddy, it was Walter Clayton. He entered the draft. It wasn't what he thought it was going to be. So he said, look, I'm coming back. And, buddy, look, the way this – and I'm not making this all about Walter Clayton, but my goodness, you talk about built for the moment, made for the – and the best play he made was the last play. I mean, that's the best. Because he got too many moments to name as far as like big shots. But buddy, the wherewithal to understand that, look, man, if they pass this ball, I can't block the shot, but I can make him not have a good look. And when that guy from Houston dropped the ball, like we didn't just drop it. I say, did he really just not take the shot? Like, because buddy, someone said something to me. What's up? What's up? JLB and Dan Bonnet. What's up, everybody? Buddy, somebody said something to me after the game. They said, Ben, what would that have been like if Florida was on the other side of that? Like we got 18 seconds, 19 seconds, and we don't get a shot off. I said, I couldn't imagine. I really, because, buddy, like I said, the only team in college history, 3 national championships of football, 3 national championships of basketball, and I'm just happy for Gator Nation. I'm happy for this team. I'm happy for Ty Golden. Scott Strickland, I got to say this to him. Scott Strickland has had to deal with a lot. I know he's had other sports, and I'm not taking nothing away from the success other sports have had. But, buddy, you know, when it comes to the University of Florida, if it ain't football and basketball, the other sports don't get the recognition that they deserve. And people start saying, yeah, we appreciate this, but what about this? What about that? But I'm just – buddy, I don't know how many years I've been taking off my life watching these Gators.
Yeah.
The last in the tournament. But buddy, it was such a great ride because I kept saying this. Could we bounce back from that loss against Mizzou in the regular season? Yep. Could we bounce back against a Georgia team that we should have beat? Yep. You know, you beat back-to-back number 1 teams in back-to-back weeks. You didn't win the regular season SEC, but you won the SEC tournament against Tennessee. You get a number 1 seed. You stop UConn. You know, you talk about being able to beat a team like Auburn. It's almost like that you couldn't escape the SEC with what you had to do in this tournament. But buddy, I don't know when this movie comes out, because you know nowadays every time a great season happens, you already got a 30 for 30, a E60, a Gator Tales, a SEC Network. I just think that the personalities on this team, top to bottom, and the love, because people start saying, what separates good teams from great teams? I go, 2 things: love and culture. That will separate. These guys love each other. These guys really, really feed off each other. Elijah Martin saying, don't forget where you come from. I think we are already recruiting Denzel. Elijah Martin's brother. We're recruiting him.
Isaac Brown's brother, yeah.
But I just think that when it's all said and done, buddy, we understand that nationally, we are not the national sweetheart. Oh no, like oh my God, UConn with the 3, Cooper Flag and Duke. Oh, look at this Houston team. But somebody kept saying, dude, Florida's different, man. And they play their best when they're down. I don't know what it was about them second half adjustments, but we adjusted like nobody's business. Walter Clayton Jr. was neutralized most of the game. But like I say, he go, look, I'm not going to worry about it. If they give me a look, I'm taking the shot. I'm living with it. And, buddy, like I said, the way it ended, I don't know, but I don't know what them last 18, 19 seconds did to you, but I'm like,
forget about it. I mean, here's the thing about it, and we've said this a bunch of times, and I apologize to everybody who's heard me say this 100 times, but it's so true. The way the game ended, the way the game ended was remarkable. And it caught us by surprise. It stopped so fast that we were kind of out of breath. And I had a hard time going on the air because I think all but 64 seconds they trailed in that game.
Yeah.
And then at the end, they also had an unbelievable play by their best offensive player that was the defensive play. And by the way, he talks about that. He was not. It was not a situation that it was just luck. That was coached.
Of
How to put
course,
your hand up there and not get hit.
That's basketball 1-on-1, buddy.
That would have been disastrous had he touched the shooter.
But it shows his basketball IQ, though, buddy. Like think about what you just said. But people say, "Hey, man, that was luck." No. The same way you got to coach situations if you're trying to get a shot off, you got to coach situations defensively. Florida was in a way worse situation because we don't know what kind of offensive set. Now, when they went to the right side, I'm like, okay, they kind of got everybody bottled in. If you notice that Walter Clayton, he could have helped. He go, no, I'm gonna trust my teammates. I'm gonna stand back. Now, when they threw the ball to the guy he was defending, Walter Clayton didn't panic. He said, all right, because he's looking like, well, dude, this guy isn't a shooter. He's the what? 5-6 feet away from the 3-point line. My goal is to make the shot difficult, alter his shot. And all he did, it's one of those things, but I don't think the guy who got the ball was supposed to get the ball. I don't think he was supposed to get it at all. But, you got to be a basketball player. So when he got it, he did the one thing they tell you. He was a no man's land. When he went up and he don't got a good shot, to me, I still let it go. When he dropped the ball, because if you notice, when he dropped the ball, Florida kind of hesitated for a second, like, wait, what just happened? Right? And then when we got on it, I said, dude, and I appreciate the sportsmanship of Walter Clayton. He goes up to that young man after the game, and he says some encouraging words. Because, buddy, somebody made like a little movie about Florida and how, man, you talk about the SEC championship tournament 2 years ago. You talk about, what we weren't able to do a year ago. It's like to be able, most teams, buddy, some teams, the best you ever going to be is a Sweet 16, an Elite 8, maybe a Final Four if you lucky. For this team to bounce back from 2023 the way they did, to have the 2024 season with the SEC as a whole, 14 out of 16 teams in, 7 teams in the Sweet 16. It could have potentially been an All SEC Final Four. Florida had to run the gauntlet. Like SEC was miles and miles ahead of everybody. But I'm just happy for Ty Golden. I'm happy for this entire staff. Torian Green. I mean, what he had to deal with. We had to deal with the coach, and I'm not minimizing it, but we had to deal with Coach Golden stuff off the court. Then we had to deal with Torian Green stuff off the court. Because people go, hey, man, what could derail this team? Distractions. They were focused, man. We dealt with injuries throughout the course of the year. And when I saw all those people at Flyvet Field, shout out to Flyvet Field. I lived in Flyvet my sophomore year, and we what
Flyvet stand for? Florida veterans. They're built from World War II veterans.
Okay.
On the GI. Yeah.
Oh, I live right there on the backside where you can walk out, and there are moments because people go, hey man, why do you go to University of Florida? People go, if you're an athlete, you want to win championships, and if you're a student, you want the moments. Those students that was out, they would never forget that. They'll be like, dude, you mean, and isn't it ironic? Coincidental, man. We win on Monday. Spring game on Saturday. They're gonna have a 30-minute celebration on remembrance of it on.
You can't see it on TV. They already have it on TV though. That's not gonna be on TV.
And you know what, buddy? But that's the importance of social media now. Not having TV, but you got the phones, you got the media department. And like I said, when people be asking what makes Gator Nation different, just look. See, certain things you don't got to manufacture, certain things you cannot fake, certain things, you cannot make people do it. Chris Doering, one of the greatest Florida Gators of all time, those are tears of joy standing there with his son. That's a moment like Chris, dude, I couldn't have scripted better than because, like I say, buddy, we bleed orange and blue. We rooting for these other teams. I'm looking at all these former Gators, Jacquez Green. I'm looking at current Gators like Cam Jackson. I'm looking at Stephen Harris. They talking about Florida at the Masters. I didn't even know Jeff Darlington went to Florida, and I know Laura Rutledge did. They got a guy that's working the Masters saying, yeah, man. He's saying
he's ahead of the Masters.
He said, yeah. I'm just happy at the fact that let me say what I really am. I am a troll, people. All these other teams that always got something to say. We forget how great of a school Florida is sometimes because people try to judge us on what we don't do. Oh, they didn't do this, they didn't do that. But when we do it, people start saying, wait a minute, Florida got 3 of them? Yes, they won 3. And they put up this metric of how many teams have won national championships in football since like 1975, right? And everybody's like, oh, look how many times Alabama. Somebody said, put up the basketball metric. They don't want to do that because Alabama goes from 9 championships to 0. Tennessee goes from 1 championship to 0. LSU goes from. So I'm just saying, if you from now on, buddy, Gator Nation. Let me speak to us real quick because I gotta go nurse my wife. But we need to breathe. And we need to really, really thank God for how blessed we are. We are so blessed as a college and university because, buddy, the heat is not coming from the outside. It's coming from right here within because our expectations sometimes are unrealistic because we're capable of doing it. Don't mean we're going to do it every year. But for this moment, for one night, right? San Antonio, for the whole world watching, everybody. In New York, they had, different, it's orange and blue. I'm just, man, my nephew, who's obviously my nephew's dad went to Georgia, and but he's a big time Florida fan. He's like torn in between. He said, Uncle Benny, you think people gonna start respecting Florida now? I said, they don't got to. They don't got to.
Yeah, that's a point I want to speak to. I know you got to go, but before you go, I want to get this point across, and we're going to have Franz join us in a minute. But we do not need anybody else's validation.
Absolutely.
We don't need all Feinbaum and tell us we're no good or good. And the problem is we kept waiting for the national media to wake up. And the truth of the matter is everybody has their own little private niche. Like, for instance, up in Alabama, Paul Feinbaum is just moving back to Alabama, and he's a Tennessee, Alabama, Auburn guy. And every time the opportunity came up so that he could have said something good about the Florida Gators, he chose to opt out.
He can't. Buddy, he can't.
No, and I love Paul's a friend of mine. He's been very kind to this show. He has done, he had me on many times. He's had, different people. The bottom line is, though, that Paul has his own agenda. And I said it 10 times that I listened to this show, this Around the Horn, because my friend Buddy Page was on it. One of his last shows. He's been on it 23 years. And there were 3 other people on it. I didn't know, young people. Nothing wrong with that. And they talked for 1 hour about the Final 4 teams or Final 16, whatever it was. And they mentioned how Alabama could win it all. Certainly Auburn was the best team. Duke was probably the best team of all time. And Cooper Flag was the greatest blue that ever played. Never mentioned, the team in Gainesville. Mm-hmm. So I'm thinking, you know what? We don't got to listen to them.
Of course.
We listen to shows like this.
Of course.
Shows, other things that we've been telling you. We're not just blowing smoke here. You've got to pay attention to Florida Gators. They're good. Well, I don't know. They're not good. Okay, all that stuff. Crazy, man. Crazy. But anyway. As
my granddaddy would say, buddy, ain't no fun when the rabbit got the gun. Listen, Paul Feinbaum, all these national, analysts, listen, I respect them because we forget. Listen, it's a professional opinion, but it's an opinion. It is not. And here's the thing: when people get to talk about tradition in basketball in the SEC now, I ain't talking about Duke, I ain't talking about North Carolina, I ain't talking about Kansas. Bill Self ain't got but 1 chip now.
Donna Perry.
Bill Self is incredible. Joe Boeheim is incredible. They got 1.
I'm on a show.
Buddy, listen. Think about this. There are coaches in the Hall of Fame who ain't never won a chip. In the college. So when people get to talk about Joe Boeheim is incredible, Bill Self is incredible. They got 1. So for me, when Paul Feinbaum or whoever goes on there, people do all they can to not give credit to the Gators. You know why? Because everybody else, you talking about a moment, you talking about a great year that they had, an outlier year. Didn't our former head coach just get inducted to the Hall of Fame? How did he get there? It ain't from coaching the Bulls. I'm just saying, people don't want to, because like I say, I'm in Georgia again. So, I'm surrounded by all these Georgia people, right?
Yep.
All of a sudden, when I'm mowing my lawn, they don't want to talk. They don't got anything to say. And I asked her, I said, ma'am, what's your favorite Georgia basketball player? She says Cooper Flagg. He doesn't play for Georgia. He plays for Duke. Yeah. So I'm just
take care of your sick wife. You'll go keep on doing this.
Yeah. Listen, wife. Friends, I got to get out of here. I got a sick wife I got to take care of. But friends, I'm still gonna be listening because friends, you were there in person, sir. One of these days, the reason why I'm not gonna be allowed at these events in person because I'm gonna be like Akeem Olajuwon. I'm gonna get thrown out. They gonna be like, throw him out. He's talking too much trash. I said, I want to tell Paul Finebaum. Paul Finebaum, I'm sorry that Nick Saban is no longer in Alabama and you ain't got nobody to lean on. But them boys from Florida, if we in a blue blood, we a gray one. We might not be blue, but we gray. I bet you that.
Hey, Ben, I'm going to give you a line for your radio show. The Houston Cougars are now the Florida State Seminole baseball team of college basketball.
Yes, I listen to that.
Florida State has been to the College World Series 88 times in 50 years and never won it. Houston is now 0 for 7, 0 for 8, something like that. And been there with some of the greatest players of all time. Elvin Hayes, they were there with Elvin Hayes. They were there with Hakeem Olajuwon and Clyde Drexler. They ain't won one yet.
All right, you got to let him go. He's got to take care of it. But before you do, we talk about last night who we all thought of when the championship was won. I had 4 or 5 I mentioned. I talked to several today. I had several who called me, Freddie Weeby, who said, man, what a great show last night. You talk about when somebody cries, that's a good show. But when 2 people cry, that's really a good show. My point was I had about 5 people I thought of, and you guys are 2 of them. Franz, certainly you, Franz, who've been around with Gator basketball so long and have been defending them and writing about them. And Ben, you've been the great ambassador that you are for all Gators all the time. Go take care of your wife, all right?
All right, y'all have fun, man.
We're going to talk about a little bit about our sponsor. All right, Ben Troupe. We talk about, he was on the show last night, Franz. We had him on. He was a happy camper.
Can't imagine why. Just because Gators won a national championship, something like that.
We had him on for 20 minutes, and he was just glowing. And Jeffrey Meldon, of course, and we talked he couldn't stop talking. I said, it's time to do your commercial. Why don't you do it? And he said, we don't back down. That was his commercial. So he didn't, but he really did well. It was such a great mixture of people and friends. And today I've heard from all kinds of people who said, this is ours. This happened so great. We feel like you and I have talked about it. It was a very personal thing. We are going to talk about a little football, which I didn't get a chance to do with Ben as we shift into the season. But one more time, Franz, wonderful job of writing and tell the folks what it's like. I know I heard today from Freddie Weeby. He said, I've been to all 6 national championships, and none of them are like this. None of them are like this, he said. And so it was different. Who knew, Franz, that when we were watching this team, they'd be hoisting the trophy. All right, so we lost Franz for a second there. We'll get you back in a second. It sounded like somebody goes outside and drops his dumpster. And I hope it didn't cut his power line. But again, last night was a wonderful opportunity for us to glow a little bit. And it was here comes Franz back in, a chance for people to express their love, and it was a different kind of celebration. It was a kind of celebration that it felt different, like Freddie said. Hang on a second, here he is, and there Loren's coming. So anyway, finish up the thought. It was different. Everybody says this one was different. Freddie said, I've been to all 6. This one was like no other. What was about it that got people so emotional, friends?
Well, I think the fact that it had been so long, 17 years since football, 18 years since basketball. And you start thinking, well, will we ever do this again? I mean, you know, Arkansas hasn't won one since 1994. You think about that, that's 31 years ago, the last time they won one. And you got teams like Houston, for example, that are 0 forever and haven't ever won one. And we've won one. In fact, we won 3 in football. We've won 3 now in basketball.
And the only school to ever do that.
Yeah, the only school that can ever do that. But you look at it, since Steve's, you know, this will be the 30th year since Steve Spurrier won the 1996 national championship. You think about that. Wow. It's a long dadgum time. 18 years since we won one in basketball until this year. It's been 17 years this year since we won one in football. And you get to this point where people start thinking, you know, it's almost like, you remember when people used to say, wait till next year? That was almost the Gator rallying cry. And you know people as well as I do who went to their graves hoping, you know, gosh, I'd just love to see an SEC championship. Just one SEC championship. My dad was one of them. My dad went to his grave thinking, oh my gosh, you know, he never saw it. And I can think about how happy he would have been having endured, 75-0 Georgia beating Florida in football. And he was at the University of Florida when that happened. So you think back of all these things that happen like that, and it just causes a tremendous amount of joy. And then you couple that with watching this team that really and truly you could see the enjoyment these guys got out of just being on the same team with each other. No jealousy, no finger pointing, no nothing, no whining about I didn't get to play enough minutes or anything like this. Just guys who wanted to compete, wanted to win. And as long as the Gators won, that was it. And I think that brought a certain amount of joy to this team that maybe we haven't seen in a long, long time. And I got to believe that maybe as much as anything, it brought about, just such tremendous outpouring of love and feeling for this ball club.
Yeah, it was special. We're going to bring a guy in here who hasn't experienced this before, although he's been a Gator fan for a long time. As I remind folks, Meldon Law is a place you need to go if you would like to discuss law or Gators. And they have a wonderful Facebook page. They give things away all the time. Go to Facebook, Meldon Law. Jeffrey was on here last night. He was still glowing. He was very happy. No one supports the Gators like Jeffrey. Todd Golden is his personal friend. He didn't talk about it much, but he went through a tough time with Todd too. So congratulations to Jeffrey, and I'm happy for him. As I said, happy for you. Happy for my friend Augie Griner, as you remember. What a great game.
Gosh. Augie would have the saddest day in Augie's life would have been the day that Billy left. The happiest day of Augie's life would have been this one when we won another championship. Mm-hmm. Nobody poured his heart and soul into Florida. Augie Griner and Bill Koss, and I got to give a shout out to
Bill Koss last night as well, yeah. And Mike McGinnis, we talked about Mike. I talked to Mike today, and Mike sent me a little note. I'm working on a piece. He said, "Here's where tears of joy." A lot of people cried that this whole thing, and I bet you if you got close enough to Loren Meadows, he probably had.
I almost fainted. I was so excited. So, I mean, it was crazy, man. Obviously, my first Final Four ever attending in person, and obviously the Gators were there, and it was crazy, man. I mean, it was a great atmosphere. San Antonio does a great job with the event as a whole, and just awesome experience. I mean, definitely worth the price of admission, and all the headaches that sometimes go with traveling to, that kind of event, but definitely worth it. And man, I mean, it that 12 seconds, it kind of, when the 19, then they started at 12 and then he went up, and I was kind of like you, was like, oh, did I just see that? Because it was tough to see from where we were. And then it was just like, man, and you heard the horn sound and that was it. I mean, it was crazy. And yeah, I mean, just a wonderful, wonderful event. I think maybe the three of us were on this team pretty early about being in the second weekend and having an opportunity to make the Final Four, but to see it actually, come to be, and with some of the ways, the basically 3 out of the 4 games, really coming down to it, and even the Auburn game and fighting back against Houston. I mean, it was just unbelievable. So definitely, definitely experience, and happy for Todd Golden and the rest of the Gator basketball program.
One of the things, guys, that is so overlooked, and I got to, I've said it to 1,000 people already. This team never got credit for being a great defensive ball club.
Mm-hmm.
Never did. And that's because I think they scored so easily in so many games. And we didn't see many grind games. And this was a total grind game. Houston came out, brought the brass knucks, brought the switchblades, the billy clubs, what do they call that thing on the end? It looks like a spear, a pike, brought the pikes. I mean, they were out there, and they did what they do all the time. They just beat people up. And I think it took Florida about the first few minutes to just, okay, they'd probably do it better than anybody else we played. And they finally said, okay, so we're just going to have to be better than they are at it. And Florida showed these guys are tough. They may, they may smile and laugh and be so much fun when we see them celebrating, but these guys were just really, really tough guys. And I liked seeing that. I really did. Somebody in the press room said, Houston just got out Houstoned by Florida. And I don't think anybody saw that. I don't think anybody believed somebody could do that. I think people thought that if Florida won this game, it would be because they hit some shots early and they made Houston play their game. I don't think anybody could see Houston making Florida play its game, and that Florida could beat them doing it.
Well, Go ahead, buddy. No, I was saying I talked to a couple people before the game, and that was one of the things that I pointed out. It wasn't the fact. I mean, I thought that UConn did the Gators the biggest favor going into this Houston game, because it was almost like preparation for what Houston was going to bring. Similar style, kind of grinding it out, leaning on the Gators. And I think that, the UConn game really showed Florida, and really showed everybody. We talked about it, in the previous weeks, that Florida was good at doing whatever you want to do. You want to go up and down like Alabama, we'll beat you doing that thing. You want us to tough it out like UConn and Houston and muddy it up, we could do that, and that's where I think you find a good team. It's like, Bobby Bowden said, a good coach can take Yorns and beat Hisens, and
actually it was not Bobby Bowden. It was the coach that was
Bum Phillips.
Okay, so Bum Phillips, yeah. So excuse me, and I mean, so I think that they can play your way and beat you, and they can play their way and beat you, and I think that's a good mark. I mean, that's a mark of a great team. And like they say, good teams win, great teams cover. Yeah, and Florida covered as well. So
a lot of money made, my friend Randy Briggs, and we're going to transition out of this basketball love fest to football, because Loren, you're going to be carrying the flag on Saturday for everything.
Yes, sir.
Franz is hurt, and I'm unavailable, but we'll be there, and Loren's going to be your man on the scene. And in football now, we're hearing this. Stay hot, Gator boys. Gator boys, stay hot. And there's this possibility that this will transition that you've seen it before, the enthusiasm, the fan base. And on Saturday, there's a merger where you've got the first part of the session for the basketball team right into football. And you saw a lot of Gator football players and a lot of Gator athletes, and teams, guys from actually the State High Gator boys came from, I think, the 06 team. And so it's become a mantra for them. It's just all good right now. And again, so many Gators are so happy. Let's talk about what might happen in football. I know it's just a scrimmage, but I'm going to give you, Loren, you've been out there more than we have. What have you been seeing? What are you hearing? What do you expect to see? Will we see DJ Lagway throw the football?
No. I would say unequivocally no. But what you will see is, you have a competition to be the backup between Aiden Warner and Harrison Bailey. That'll be interesting because obviously when Lagway went down, obviously Mertz was down as well. You saw a drop off. So has Warner improved? Where is Harrison Bailey in his development? This offensive line, a year older with pretty much everybody back on that offensive line. How will they operate? These young receivers that everybody's been talking about, the trio of young receivers, how will they be? And then just the defense as a whole. I know they're going to be banged up in the secondary, but you got guys like Cormani McLean that'll still be playing. How does he look on the hoof with live bullets flying? Devin Moore, the safeties, just where's this defense after really righting the ship about the last 5 games of the year? Where is this team now in regards to, heading into August? I mean, I think that, people that want to show up to see DJ Lagway will join Florida Victorious, get you a ticket, and go down on the field and get your autograph because that's the closest you're going to see. I mean, he may dress, maybe hand off a little bit because he's been doing some of that stuff, but I don't think he'll throw the football at all. But there'll be plenty to look at with, like I said, a ballyhooed receiver class, a really good young safety class as well. Miles Graham, Jordan Childs and Jaden Robinson at linebacker kind of taking over for Shamar James, Pup Howard. I mean, there's still some guys to see kind of run around, but I mean, it's going to be, I hate to say it, and Billy Napier may get on me for using this language, but it's going to kind of be a glorified flag football game. So,
You don't want to get anybody hurt. That's the thing.
I mean, that's, and so, but if you like football, like myself, you Franz, and you get into the X's and O's of this thing, it's still great to see young athletes running around, getting after it. They're not going to show much, obviously, and it'll just be, like I said, just an opportunity for the fans to get in the swamp, cheer on the basketball team. I think that'll help with the attendance.
It's going to be the only thing that's going to help because it ain't going to be on TV.
Yeah, yeah. So
you're gonna be the only eyes Gator Bait has there.
Mr. Gator Bait. And by the way, I was thinking, what if there were a prop bet and it said, what are the odds that Lagway will throw a pass? I'm not going to say that he is, but I wouldn't completely rule it out. And they just let him throw one pass. So people saw it. Look, it's what it is, and a lot of people will be very happy to see it. What would it be, 100-1 odds against? I don't know. I have no idea.
I'd say buy a lottery ticket before you bet on Lagway throwing a pass.
Okay. Well, just remember I brought it up. Okay.
Yes, sir.
So, all right. So now in the final minutes here, I want to talk about 2 things: the roster of the football team, and I would like Franz to speak to the basketball situation with now to talk about the Princeton guard coming, Isaac Brown's brother. Let's talk football first because that's what we're discussing. And I know they lost a safety today to the transfer portal. Can you update us on anything there in terms of football, Loren? Because Franz has been on his basketball vacation.
Yeah, I mean, I think it just iron sharpens iron, man. And you start to see, I mean, the one thing that they feel like is this is the best roster that they've had since Billy Napier's been here. And what you're going to find is iron sharpens iron. And you got guys that, they're going to be banging it out now. I mean, and so, just the opportunity for this young man to go ahead and jump in the portal, probably saw the writing on the wall. I mean, I think he was a 4-star Smith, George Smith, right, is the young man, and
yeah,
and just, I mean, you look at the young guys they got. I mean, they bring back guys like Bryce Thornton, Aaron Gates, Jordan Castell. I mean, it's just some really good players out there. And then, the young bucks are coming along as well with Ben Hanks and Stubbs. I mean, those guys, and it just ain't much there. And so, it's just iron sharpens iron, and you're going to see a few more because, this is a good football team in a good position to take the next step if they can see some opportunities. I just think it's, you're going to have that. And I mean, it was a 4-star recruit, but found himself a little buried down on the depth chart. So, just take an opportunity to go find, had over 30 offers coming out of high school. So there'll be plenty of suitors and, fresh start, go somewhere else, and I think, this is the spirit of the rule. You go, hopefully just transfer one time and, go from there.
Franz, is the game I thought I heard that the game itself was going to be on ESPN. Is it?
I had heard that it would not be shown live at all.
Well, I mean, I know that so A&M's the only team game on.
Yeah.
No, it says right now, yes, it'll be streamed on the SEC network, and the replay will be available. That's what it says here. Available on Gator Sports Network. So it says this, yes, the overview of Florida Orange and Blue game will be broadcast on TV. It will be streamed on SEC Network, which would be the Fine Bomb channel, right? And ESPN Plus, which we also get. And the replay will be available on the SEC Network. The game is also available on the Gator Sports Network. So the football will be on. The celebration will not, at least that's the way I understand.
Well, whether it is or isn't, I think that if Billy Napier had his way, they wouldn't even have a spring game.
No, I know that about it. Yeah,
and I think that if you voted in the SEC, that would be the case. I will say this, however, I talked to a number of people in San Antonio, and we had some football people there. And I said, what about the idea of moving the D1AA games to the spring?
Yeah, we've talked
about and here's what they said. If they would do that, you'd find coaches would be okay with it, because then they get a real nobody wants to risk an injury when it's just your own guys going against your own guys. But when you got a chance to see your guys going against someone else, that's a different story. And they believe that coaches would be in the SEC even would be very, very in favor of playing that D1AA game in the spring. And because it would give the coaches then, okay, you've had these guys going head to head with each other. It's kind of like that first game in the fall, buddy, when the guys have been beating each other up for 3 weeks in August, and all of a sudden coaches get to get out there, and everybody says the same thing. Finally, we're hitting somebody other than ourselves. So I think that the coaches would be amenable to it. I know the players would be, and you could make a great fan fest for it. Charge $10 a head. You got $900,000. You can bring the Bethune-Cookman band and their team down here and make it a real celebration. Sell the place out, and everybody has a good time. And you end up with a game in that if you happen to lose, a la Michigan and Appalachian State, it doesn't count.
Yeah. So, buddy, it's 247 Sports is reporting that the Gators have opted against airing the scrimmage.
Well, I thought they said they opted against doing the pregame celebration.
Yeah, it said as questions over the future of spring exhibitions and practices have risen, they said Texas A&M represents the only Southeastern Conference school to announce that they were going to air.
I guess we'll have to see the replay when it comes home.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah.
Whatever. Let us know, because obviously Franz is hurt and I'm up here.
Yeah, definitely.
But
you got to play hurt, but I can't walk, so I can't play.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you'll be our eyes and ears, and we'll just have to trust you. Now, final thing, Franz, the guard from Princeton and Isaac Brown's brother.
Well, I think these two guys are going to get here. The young man from Princeton, Xavier Lee. I know that Xavier Lee it was, and somebody texted me today and said, "Is he the kid of the former FSU quarterback who came out of Seabreeze?" I went, "No, that was Xavier. This is Xavier Lee," and he was Tommy Hawk's high school teammate.
Mm-hmm.
They're really, really close. And there's a real good shot at him. I would say Florida is in the lead for him, and I would say it might be an upset if he goes someplace else. AJ Brown, I saw him on that Orlando Christian Prep team 3 years ago when he was the best player. Then Alan Lubin got all the big accolades and everything like that, but AJ Brown was the best player on that team. And Isaiah, his younger brother, is a Skywalker who can shoot, and so is AJ. AJ is they list him at 6'4". I think he's taller than that, but he can flat out get up in the air and grab and dunk the ball, get rebounds, stuff. Those two guys, I think, are going to be here. Two guys I think we need to look out for here. Well, three of them, actually. One of them is a guy named Chris Parker, who's out of Quincy, who played at Villanova, didn't play a lot at Villanova, but Florida tried to recruit him hard. He's a 6'8" guy that can play the small forward or can be a stretch four. A guy named Dylan Mitchell, who's from Spring Hill, went to Texas originally, was the number 5 recruit in the entire country. He spent last year at Cincinnati, wants to come home. Last name I'm going to give you is a guy, at least at first, is a guy that was at Georgia this year, but Florida scouted him hard last year at the FIBA's in Eurobasket 18 and unders. A guy named Savo Drezgic, and he's out of Serbia. And last year at the FIBA's, he was averaged 20.4 points, 5.6 rebounds, 5.6 assists, and 2.6 steals a game. He's a player. He's 6'4". Now, I'm going to throw two names at you for international kids that I think the Gators are going to make a big play for. One of them is a guy named Ben Henshaw, and he is out of
golfer. Oh, wait, that's Ben Henshaw.
Henshall. He's out of Perth, Australia. Played on the Aussie team that played at the NBA Global event that Nike put on. But he's a 6'7" kid. He's still growing. Averaged at the FIBA Asia Cup, averaged 11.5 points, 5.3 rebounds. And the other kid is a kid out of Tel Aviv, Israel, named Omer Mayer. And he is a 6'4" point guard who in the FIBA Europe last year, 18.3 points, 6.6 rebounds, and 5.1 assists per game. He's got a contract with Maccabi Tel Aviv, and I'm told that there's a way that he can come out of it if he goes to play college ball this year, and they would like it. They wouldn't mind if he did that at Maccabi, and then if he got drafted by the NBA team would have to pay Maccabi big bucks. So those are the guys I think that are on the radar. I think they also are going to find a big man somewhere. Wouldn't be surprised if Josh Gray winds up here. Okay.
Yeah, that's good. Thank you for that. I had to communicate some dinner to my wife there. So I heard someone say today, Florida loses all their players. They got nobody coming back. I mean, yeah, they're losing their 3 senior guards, and they're great, but just about everybody, unless they go to the NBA, is coming back, Franz. What's the situation on that?
Well, Condon is being projected late first, early second. ESPN has him the number 29 player taken. Still, you make a lot of money, but I think if he comes back and has a good year, he could be like a lottery pick next year. I think he comes back. Tommy Hawk being projected second round guy, he'll come back. I feel certain of that. But you get those two guys, Ruben is coming back. Micah Hanlogton is coming back. I am not hearing anything about Sam Alexis leaving. My goodness. You throw these
Aberdeen being the key guy, he's coming back.
Aberdeen's coming the key back. And here's the key thing about they're getting, if they get Savo Dragic or if they were to get Xavier Lee, Denzel is just as comfortable playing off the ball as he is at the point. And there's something to be said about having two guys out there, like last year when they had Zion pulling, they had ZP and Walter. They had guys that were interchangeable. Now, Walter ended up being even better when he's the guy that's truly directing the show. But you got two guys in these two who are comfortable with it or without it. And then you start throwing in guys like CJ Ingram. Oh my gosh, he's going to be good. Alex Lloyd, Urban Klavjar he'll blossom next year. Trust me on that. Great shooter. This team, the Athletic picks them number 2 in their early.
Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah,
their early thing. Yeah. Now ESPN, which I think was never happy about the Gators to begin with, picks them number 19, and they're the only ones that don't really pick them out of the top 10 or 11 teams. Everybody else has Gators not, dropping off a little bit, but not that much. But I don't think it matters to Todd. They started the season number 21 this past year, and Todd loved it because he could go in and say, "Are you the number 21 team?" And they'd say, "No." They said, "Well, get out here and prove it to me." And they did. Oh my gosh. This has been a fun ride. This, I'm with all those fans that had tears and everything like that. I'm 73 years old. I may not see another one. If it takes 18 years, I would be willing to bet you.
And then one more name, Franz, and I know you just C.J. Ingram.
Yeah, I just
definitely C.J. Ingram will contribute early and often.
He's a legit 6'7" now.
Yeah,
and still growing. And people better watch out because he's got a younger brother that's at Hawthorne, and younger brother. Now, I think younger brother's going to be the football player of the bunch.
Yeah,
but he led Hawthorne to the state basketball championship this year, too. And younger brother's a sophomore in high school, and gosh, no DNA tested. You put those kids next to CI, no DNA.
Yeah, no.
Test needed.
Spitting image.
They look like a chip off the old block there.
No doubt.
Good stuff for sure. I want you to give me a report, Loren, on the running back situation. The guys I like there.
Yes, sir.
And then the offensive line, we can't tell much. He said on the hook, you can watch them if they're together and for jumping off sides and all that sort of stuff. And then, of course, unfortunately, what we want to know about are these world-class receivers, but they aren't going to get the ball thrown to them by the main guy. They'll get the balls, but we got to see what we've been hearing if it's true, because the reports I'm getting, just like you, have been glowing about this receiving class being as good. One guy off the team, well, you had him on your show.
Yeah.
You said they can start 3 freshmen, right?
Yeah, I mean they're good enough to play at that level. I mean they really do have. I mean Dallas Wilson is. I mean, buddy, you ought to see him on the hoof. I mean he looks like an SEC junior. I mean he really does. And obviously VB3, as I like to call him, Vernell Brown III, is quick with the ball in his hands. I mean and then I think a lot of people are really gonna like this. He's not a freshman. But J. Michael Sturdivant, I mean, Billy was really glowing about him, his strength, his ability to run. And, I mean, I think receiver is going to be okay. And
when I hear him talking about the possibility of 4 wides, I know they got to be good.
Yeah, and that came from a pretty good source. So, I mean, I I was told by somebody very close to the program that could be a possibility, as kind of a change up to what they normally have been doing. And obviously it'll come to what they can handle offensively and block and get sold up. But be interesting.
Yeah. Now, look, I know, Franz, your specialty is basketball and football you like too. And Loren, I know you love some track and softball and everything else. But what I love is going on right now is the Masters.
Yeah.
My gig, as I told my wife, so much of my life has been wrapped up in this event. I mean, for 30 some odd years.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to mention that they did play it today. And that the first round went a guy leading is Justin Rose, who bogeyed 18 and still shot 7 under. And the guy, one of the guys I picked, Oberg, pronounced Oberg, the kid from Texas Tech, and who was such a young player. He's 4. Connors is 4. Scotty Scheffler, my wife's man. I get tired of her saying, "Oh, Scotty, you're so cute." And then anyway, he's at 4. And then DeChambeau, a guy who's just quirky enough. I like him because he's a little weird. Tyrrell Hatton, both at 3. And so it's going to be a great day tomorrow to watch. Look, I'm sorry. Yeah, I can't get to the game on Saturday, but I'll be watching me some Masters, okay? I'll be watching. So
you enjoy it, buddy. I mean, anybody that – if you're a sports fan, it's Masters weekend.
Well, man,
let's face it. Yeah, no doubt.
Hey, I got hired. Buddy was in the car when I got hired while losing my first gear in that red clay, which turns into the slickest mud east of the Mississippi River.
I heard that story a few times. Yeah. And by the way, this is the most unusual Masters story I've heard in a long time. Jose Luis Ballester, not Ballesteros, Ballester, needed to take relief today after his 3rd shot in the 13th hole at Augusta National, but not for the reason you think. It had nothing to do with the term that applied when a golfer has to take a drop. He needed to take a relief in the bathroom. So he urinated in the tributary of Rays Creek.
Oh, gosh.
On ground, okay? Some 60 yards short of the green, par 5 hole. His back to the grandstand behind the 14th tee. He did his thing and got a loud round of applause. Respect. Here's the thing. Be careful. That will get you uninvited to the Masters forevermore. Where they so strict that if you throw a piece of paper on a napkin or a cigarette butt, whatever, on the ground, they're right behind you and they're picking it up with one of those nail things. You don't mess around with Augusta. I hope he realizes what he did. I'm sorry he had got caught out there with not having any ability to use the restroom, but that's a no-no. Be careful if you want to keep playing the Masters. They'll just say, don't come back. And that's it. Anyway,
but you got to think of this in 2025 terms. He wasn't taking a leak. He was recycling.
Okay.
He was doing his part for the environment. He was recycling the liquid that he had.
I don't think
Augusta did it in Rays Creek.
Exactly. But anyway, Rays Creek is not a place you recycle. Okay. Just anyway, guys, have a good week. Franz, look forward to your column tomorrow. Keep writing great stuff. And you, my man, Loren Meadows is the star of the weekend. He's going to be writing, broadcasting. He's going to be all over the map, man.
Yeah. Mr. Gator football right there.
Just keep those fingers going, Loren, and keep that microphone going, all right?
Yes, sir.
We'll be in touch. Thank you, guys. Great job. Thank you. Appreciate that very much. All right, we're going to tell you about our friends at Titan MRI who help make this show possible. We do appreciate that, all of our sponsors. And, well, I'm going to say one thing now. It's if you've had issues with the editing, I've spent countless hours and countless money on the condo I'm in. They're the ones who will only allow me to have certain kind on one internet provider. I have purchased a Starlink, Elon Musk deal, but it doesn't work here because I haven't got enough for the sky. We're going to get this thing resolved. I apologize for the lack of transmission at night. somehow or another people turn on their TVs and phones, and it's hard to get out. During the daytime, it's fine. We may have to become a daytime show. But thank you for your patience. We're going to get it fixed, I promise you. Meanwhile, Titan MRI, imaging, that's what they're called now. They acquired Highfield MRI with Joe Leo, and he started back at Highfield MRI in 97. Now he's back. Titan MRI and imaging now has 3 locations to serve you, 2 in Gainesville, and also around the Lake City area, and soon to come in Ocala will be there as well. They make themselves available for you for CAT scans and MRIs, etc. They offer the same great customer service they've always done. You can go there and get a nighttime appointment if you need it. They have the larger cages and the MRI, I guess you call them cages, for you to take your MRI in. They accept insurance now through their convenient self-pay options. They offer CAT scans, MRIs, X-rays, and ultrasounds. So check them out. Titan MRI and imaging. Thank you for the sponsorship. Thank you to our guests tonight, our Ben Troupe earlier, and of course Franz Beard and Loren Meadows. We have some of the best. Thank you for your kind comments about the shows this week. Stick with us on the technology. We're going to get there. Appreciate all of you watching and listening. It's been a great week to be a Gator, hasn't it? It certainly has. And it's, it's a whole lot more fun like this, isn't it, than suffering through the last 18 years like some of you have suffered. I know a lot of you talked about it tonight, how much it's meant to you. And you remembered many of your friends and many of your relatives who love the Gators so much. It's a good time to remember. On behalf of all of them, I say thank you and good night.